There is a specific look people give you when you are 91 years old and living alone. It is a mixture of pity, suspicion, and a low-grade panic. They look at my empty driveway, my quiet front porch, and my single coffee mug drying on the rack, and they see a tragedy in slow motion. "Aren't you afraid, Peggy?" they ask. "Don't you want to move into a facility? Don't you need people?" My husband, Harold, has been gone for 15 years. For the first few months after his funeral, the casserole brigade arrived on schedule. They hovered. They filled the silence with chatter because they were terrified that if the noise stopped, I would crumble. They projected their own nightmares of abandonment onto my life. But here is the scandal, the secret I keep tucked away in my quiet house. I am not just surviving. I am flourishing. We live in a culture that treats solitude as a pathology. We are told that happiness is a team sport, that a full life must be a loud one, crowded with bodies and constant validation. I am here, from the vantage point of my 10th decade, to tell you that this is a lie. I have spent the last 15 years deconstructing the myth of loneliness. Through trial, error, and a lot of silence, I have built a life that is rich, vibrant, and entirely my own. If you are staring down the barrel of a solitary life, or if you are already there and thinking something is wrong with you, let me offer you a different perspective. This isn't a list of survival tips. It is a manifesto for the contentedly reclusive. 1. The geometry of connection. The first step is a linguistic one. You must surgically separate the word alone from the word lonely. They are used interchangeably, but they are as different as drowning and swimming. Alone is a state of geometry. It simply means there are no other humans in the room. Lonely is a state of the heart. It means you are disconnected from meaning. I have sat at dinner tables surrounded by 12 people, amidst the clatter of silverware and the roar of laughter, and felt a desolation so cold it made my teeth ache. That is loneliness, being seen but not known. Conversely, I have spent 3 days without speaking a single word to another human being, occupied only by my books and the changing light in the garden, and felt completely full. The question you must ask yourself is not, how many people are around me? The question is, do I feel tethered to the world? You do not need a crowd to be tethered. You need a few strong ropes. I speak to my daughter once a week. We talk about everything and nothing. That connection is real. It sustains me. The assumption that you need daily, constant physical proximity to ward off despair is a young person's fallacy. You can be the loneliest person on earth in a marriage, and you can be the most complete person on earth in an empty room. 2. The architecture of the day. When you share your life with others, your time is communal property. The rhythm of your day is dictated by school runs, work schedules, compromised dinner times, and the needs of the collective. The structure is imposed from the outside. When you live alone, that scaffolding falls away. If you are not careful, time becomes a shapeless fog. Monday bleeds into Tuesday, and noon feels like 4 p.m. This is where the danger lies, not in the solitude, but in the drift. To live alone successfully, you must become the architect of your own time. You need a framework, but, and this is the beautiful part, it is a framework of your own design. I wake up at 7 a.m., not because I have to, but because I choose to. I have a ritual. The kettle boils, the tea is brewed, and I sit in the wing-back chair facing the window. I grant myself exactly 20 minutes to watch the morning arrive. I do not touch the newspaper or the radio until the tea is gone. This anchors me. It tells my brain, the day has begun, and we are participating in it. But here is the other side of the coin, the freedom. When Harold was alive, dinner was at 5:30 p.m., sharp. He was a creature of habit. After he passed, I kept cooking at 5:30 p.m. for a year, simply out of muscle memory. Then, one Tuesday, I realized I wasn't hungry. I didn't want to eat at 5:30. I wanted to eat at 7 ow, or maybe 8 ow. The realization was electric. I could eat toast for dinner. I could read until 2 a.m. I could paint the kitchen yellow. The structure keeps you sane, but the autonomy makes you giddy. It is a specific kind of liberty that you can only understand when there is no one else to witness your life. 3. The necessary tether. However, total freedom can become weightless. You need gravity. You need something that looks at you and expects something. For me, that gravity is a small, judgmental cat named Mildred. She is 11 years old, possesses the entitlement of a minor royal, and demands breakfast at 7:15 a.m. She does not care if I am feeling melancholy. She does not care if it is raining. She needs to be fed. There is profound medicine in being needed by a living thing. It forces you out of your own head. It prevents you from sinking into the quicksand of self-pity. When I care for Mildred, or when I water my ferns, or when I fill the bird feeder, I am affirming a contract with life. I am saying, I am still a participant here. I have a job. I also keep a ledger of the birds. It sounds trivial, I know. But keeping a written record of the cardinals, the jays, and the finches that visit my feeder gives me a role. I am the witness. If I am not there to see them, who will? When you live alone, you must find things to pay attention to, or your world shrinks down to the size of your own thoughts. Expand your gaze. Look outward. 4. The curator of people. There is a misconception that because I live alone, I must be desperate for any scrap of social interaction. The opposite is true. Because I live alone, I have become ruthless about who I allow into my peace. Social interaction requires energy. When you are younger, you spend this energy recklessly on people you don't even like. Networking, polite parties, obligatoriness. At 91, I treat my energy like a non-renewable resource. I am a curator of my social circle. I have 3 true friends. There is Margaret, who has known me since we wore hats to church. There is Doris, who argues with me about books. And there is Helen next door, a fellow traveler in the land of solitude. That is it. I do not have 20 acquaintances. I do not have a squad. I have 3 women who know the shape of my soul. I would rather have one conversation that cuts to the bone than 100 polite exchanges about the weather. If you are an introvert living alone, stop apologizing for your small circle. You are not antisocial. You are discerning. You have realized that presence without substance is just noise. Protect your peace. Or 5. The ultimate roommate. Finally, we arrive at the hardest truth. If you want to live alone without misery, you must make peace with the person you see in the mirror. When the door is locked and the curtains are drawn, there is no audience. There is no one to perform for. It is just you. If you do not like yourself, if you find your own mind boring, or your own thoughts terrifying, then solitude will feel like a prison sentence. For years I felt guilty for not being more outgoing, more adventurous, more like the loud, busy people in magazines. I thought my love for silence was a defect. I thought my contentment with a small life was a failure of imagination. It took me decades to realize that I wasn't doing life wrong. I was just doing it differently. I like who I am. I like that I prefer books to parties. I like that I can sit in a chair for an hour and just think. I have become my own best friend. If you are struggling with the silence, ask yourself, am I lonely, or am I just panicking because I've been trained to fear the quiet? The world tells you that you are incomplete on your own. It tells you that a solitary woman is a sad woman. But I am telling you that solitude is not an absence. It is a presence. It is a space where you can finally hear yourself think, where you can finally be exactly who you are without modification or apology. I miss Harold. I miss him with a pang that is as sharp today as it was 15 years ago. But missing him does not mean my life is empty. It just means the room is quieter. And in that quiet, I have found a profound, sturdy kind of joy. So, let the neighbors worry. Let them wonder what I do in here all day. I am busy. I am busy listening to the birds, drinking my tea, and enjoying the magnificent company of the only person I will be with until the very end. Myself. Pay attention.